It is a study of a creature that is both a natural disaster and a directed weapon, a supernatural servant bound to a human master's darkest impulses. Our investigation begins with an atmospheric anomaly over the rolling hills of the colony of Natal. The year is 1885. The day is clear, hot, and unforgivingly bright. Without warning, a single dark cloud begins to coalesce directly above a small, isolated homestead. It is an unnatural formation, a bruised violent purple against the pale blue of the sky. Within minutes, a torrential, localized downpour begins, accompanied by a furious display of lightning. The local Zulu workers call it a red storm for the color of the lightning that cracks the sky. Just as quickly as it appeared, the storm vanishes. The cloud dissipates, leaving behind a steaming, rain-soaked patch of earth under a placid, sunlit sky. But the event has left a scar. A young, healthy man, a farmhand who had been working in the fields, is found dead. The colonial magistrate, when he arrives, expects to find the telltale signs of a lightning strike. Instead, he is confronted with a medical paradox. The body is unmarked by any burn. It is simply pale, unnaturally so. Upon closer inspection, the only visible wounds are two small, almost imperceptible puncture marks on the side of his neck. The official cause of death is recorded as unknown, but the local population knows exactly what has occurred. They know this was not an act of God. It was a targeted attack.
To the colonial authorities, the event was a bizarre confluence of a freak weather event and an inexplicable death. To the Zulu and Xhosa peoples of the region, however, there was no paradox. They understood that the storm and the death were not two separate phenomena, but two aspects of the same entity, the Impundulu, the lightning bird. The Impundulu is a creature central to the folklore of southern Africa, a being of immense power and terrifying duality. In its primary form, it is an avian creature, often described as being the size of a man, with black and white feathers and an iridescent sheen that glimmers with the colors of the rainbow. It is the master of the storm. Its cry is the sound of thunder, and the flap of its colossal wings generates the lightning that strikes the earth. But its true horror lies in its ability to shapeshift. The Impundulu can shed its avian form and appear as a handsome and charismatic young man. In this guise, it is a seducer, an infiltrator that can walk among its victims, charming its way into their homes and their lives. The most critical piece of lore, however, is this. The Impundulu is not a wild creature. It is not a force of nature that strikes at random. It is a servant, a familiar, bound to the will of a powerful witch known as an umthakathi. It is a supernatural weapon that can be aimed and fired, and the storm is simply the sign of its passage.
The bond between a witch and an Impundulu is not a pact made in a single lifetime. It is a dark and powerful inheritance, a living curse passed down through a matriarchal line from mother to daughter. To inherit control of an Impundulu is to be granted a terrible and demanding power. The witch can command the bird to summon storms, to strike down livestock, and to attack her enemies with a speed and ferocity that leaves no earthly trace. She is granted influence, fear, and a tool to enact her will upon the community. But this power comes at a parasitic price. The Impundulu has an insatiable, vampiric thirst for blood. The witch who controls it is not just its master, it is its keeper, responsible for sating its endless hunger. She must feed it, and its preferred sustenance is human. The witch is therefore compelled to direct the creature, to point it toward her neighbors, her rivals, or anyone whose life force can be used to nourish the source of her power. The relationship is a horrifying symbiosis. The witch's malice gives the Impundulu its target, and the Impundulu's hunger fuels the witch's power. It is a generational cycle of secret violence, hidden in plain sight behind the fury of the storm. Our archives contain excerpts from the private journal of a magistrate, Alistair Davies, assigned to a remote district in Natal in 1885. His writings provide a chilling first-hand account of an investigation into this phenomenon. An entry from October reads, "Another peculiar death, a stockman on the Henderson farm. A freak storm appeared out of nowhere, and the man was found dead in its wake. No signs of struggle. The local constable is useless, muttering about witchcraft and enlightenment bird. The natives' workers are terrified, but their testimony is a fantastical soup of superstition. The man appears to have died of a simple hemorrhage, yet the cause is unknown. I suspect a new species of viper may be at work." A month later, his tone begins to shift. A third death. This time a moneylender from the village. The pattern is identical. A sudden violent storm from a clear sky, a body left drained and pale. I have begun a formal inquiry. The villagers all point to the same person, a reclusive widow named Fwandiwe, who lives on the outskirts of the community. They claim the moneylender had been threatening to foreclose on a property. They speak of her as a known witch, and of her bird. It is, of course, preposterous. His final preserved entry from December is marked by a tone of near desperation. Another man is dead. He was the chief witness in a land dispute against the woman Fondiwe. The storm followed him as he walked home. It was witnessed. My rational mind searches for a conspiracy, a clever murderer using the storms as cover.
but there is no poison, no weapon, and the storms, they are too precise. I can prove nothing. My laws are useless here. I see the villagers' faces. They do not see a murderer. They see a witch feeding her servant. And in the silence of my study, with the thunder rolling in the distance, I am no longer certain that they are wrong. The Impundulu is a manifestation of an evil that is both deeply personal and terrifyingly elemental. It is a case study in how the darkest human emotions, jealousy, resentment, greed, can be given a supernatural form, a physical body with the power of a natural disaster. The creature itself is a predator, but it is a predator that is leashed and directed by a human hand. This symbiotic relationship is the true horror of the legend. It blurs the line between the human and the monstrous until they are functionally indistinguishable. The witch's hatred becomes the lightning. The creature's thirst becomes the motive for murder. It is an analysis of the hidden power structures within a community, a suggestion that the most devastating curses are not those that fall from the sky, but those that are quietly cultivated in the heart of a bitter neighbor. The evil is not just the bird, nor just the witch, but the unholy pact that binds them together. Who holds the true power? The monster with the lightning, or the hand that tells it where to strike?